We're here at the Strengthening Disability Advocacy Conference in Melbourne, and I'm talking to Karen. Karen, could you introduce yourself, please?
My name's Karen. I'm the CEO of the Association for Children with Disability.
Thank you. And why are you here today? What are the big issues for you for advocacy?
The big issues for us is around making the NDIS work better for children and families, and to ensure that we really are able to speak up for their needs and to make sure that, particularly in relation to early intervention, that is working much better.
So that's been a big problem, yeah, and the government has recently acted. Could you just sort of outline that issue?
So there have been a number of issues. One of the key ones has been waiting times. There has been a sort of an interim stopgap solution put in place there, and we'll see what happens there. But I think there are lots of issues around family-centred planning, around looking at the family as a whole, and making sure that the needs of the child is really seen in that context.
Can you tell us how it's playing out at the moment? Just describe for us a case, if you can.
Okay. So, the waiting times is such a pain point, and it's a real pain point, particularly in relation to young children, but it's also a huge issue in relation to assistive technology. And of course, children grow out of their equipment quite quickly. If you're then waiting months or years for that to be replaced, it has a massive impact on that child's life.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Mia, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Mia. I'm the manager at the Youth Disability Advocacy Service.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Similar issues for you on your mind?
Look, a little bit similar, but a little bit different as well. I think Karen works more with younger children. We work with young people between the ages of 12 and 25. And issues that we are faced with are mainly to do with education, so access to education and reasonable adjustment, as well as access to NDIS as well.
Can you tell us how what does that look like for a young person? Access to education, access to talk about the reasonable
adjustment.
Yeah.
So this is often particularly in relation to young people with a disability attending mainstream school, and they have some additional needs. For example, around communication. So they might use a communication aid. They might also have some needs around their eating and personal hygiene. So they require additional supports around that, and sometimes it can be difficult to find the right kinds of supports that are suitable for the young person, rather than the supports that are determined by the Department of Education.
Are you finding that the NDIS is helping, or
the NDIS is helping in a lot of cases? However, the NDIS doesn't unfortunately go into the school system. So the NDIS is separate from the education department. So the NDIS supports generally stop at the school gate, and then it's the Department of Education supports that are meant to kick in. And sometimes there are difficulties marrying the two.
And did you assume when the NDIS was going to be rolled out that actually would stop those silos?
I don't know that we assumed that. I think the assumption was that there would be difficulties trying to marry the two, for sure, and those difficulties certainly have been realised. I think the assumption was that the NDIS would certainly assist people to have a better quality of life, but there certainly still seems to be that siloed approach when it comes to different service providers.
Fantastic, Mia. Thank you very much. Any other comments you wanted to make?
There is one more comment I'd like to make as well, just in terms of, I guess, NDIS specifically. What WIDAS specifically works with is trying to get the young person's voice heard through the planning process. So it's about allowing the young person to really express what their wishes and needs are, and not that of necessarily the parents or other caregivers. So, but also saying what Karen was saying as well before, that looking at that as a holistic approach as well. So it's the family as well as the young person, but it's really important to have the young person's voice heard as well. We work with some young people who are maybe 15, 16, 17, and they don't even know that they have an NDIS plan. So that's a bit of a problem in itself. So that's something that we're trying to address.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Karen, any other comments you'd like to make?
Look, we work really closely with Mia and WIDAS because it is important that young people get to have a say directly. For young people, it is all about education and the support that they and their families get through the NDIS. And I guess we are looking, big picture, you want to see a change in attitudes and approach, because certainly families with children with a disability, often the first thing they hear from a school is, this might not be the school for you. And that ultimately is what we want to change.
Fantastic. Thank you both very